In the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, names like Lambert, Green, Blunt, Ham, and Stallworth are remembered with pride. They were draft picks. They were stars. They were legends from the beginning. But there was one man who didn't come through the front door of greatness. He wasn't drafted. He wasn't hyped. He didn't even belong, according to scouts, analysts, or NFL experts. Yet somehow, quietly, without seeking fame or recognition, he became one of the most important pieces of the greatest defense in NFL history. His name was Donnie Shell, the undrafted safety who didn't just fit into the steel curtain. He held it together. He was never supposed to wear the black and gold. He was never supposed to start. He was definitely never supposed to become an All-Pro, a four-time Super Bowl champion, and one of the most consistent safeties the game had ever seen. But he did. Not through fame, not through spotlight, but through discipline, intelligence, and quiet greatness. Welcome to Black and Gold Legacy, where we honor the triumphs, heartbreaks, and forgotten heroes who built the Pittsburgh Steelers empire. We honor the legends that history forgot. If you love stories of grit, glory, and greatness, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because today we're bringing you. This is the untold story of Donnie Shell, the undrafted legend of the steel curtain. Early life. Humble beginnings in South Carolina. Donnie Shell wasn't born into football royalty. He didn't grow up in a big city, didn't attend a powerhouse school, and didn't have scouts lining up to watch him play. He was born on August 26, 1952, in Whitmire, South Carolina, a small, quiet, and deeply traditional town. Life was simple, but not easy. Hard work was part of everyday living. Church on Sundays, school on weekdays, and long responsibilities at home. Shell wasn't the biggest, fastest, or most gifted athlete growing up, but he had something more powerful: discipline and work ethic. He didn't talk much. He didn't brag. He simply showed up, worked harder than everyone else, and took every task seriously, whether it was football, school, or helping at home. In high school, Shell wasn't a superstar. He didn't dominate or break state records. But coaches noticed one thing. He never took a play off. He played with intensity, maturity, and focus well beyond his age. He was strong for his size, had great tackling form, and was respected for his leadership and character, even though he didn't chase attention. While colleges across the country were recruiting flashier athletes, Shell didn't get much attention. But one school saw something others couldn't. South Carolina State University, a historically black college, HBCU, offered him a chance. It wasn't a football powerhouse. It wasn't nationally famous, but it was the perfect place for Donnie Shell. Because just like him, it wasn't flashy, but it built greatness quietly. South Carolina State, the hidden gem nobody saw coming. When Donnie Shell arrived at South Carolina State University, there were no ESPN cameras, no NFL scouts, and no expectations. It was an HBCU, historically black college, a place known for discipline, pride, and producing tough, intelligent football players, even if they didn't always get national attention. Here, Shell wasn't treated like a star. He was challenged. He was pushed. He learned how to lead, how to study film, how to tackle smarter, not just harder. He became obsessed with preparation, studying offenses, route patterns, and reading quarterbacks like a chess player reading his opponent. And he wasn't alone. At South Carolina State, he played alongside Harry Carson, who would later become an NFL Hall of Famer. They anchored one of the strongest small college defenses in America. Shell didn't have blazing speed or flashy highlight plays, but he had elite football IQ, consistent tackling discipline, leadership and accountability, toughness, both mental and physical. He became team captain, the kind of player teammates trusted and coaches relied on. But even after 4 years of consistent excellence, he never got invited to the NFL Combine. He received no national awards. And when the 1974 NFL Draft came, his name wasn't called. No team believed he was good enough. But one team, one coach, saw something different. And that changed everything. 1974. The draft class of legends and the undrafted nobody who walked in. The 1974 NFL Draft is remembered as one of the greatest in Steelers history, maybe in NFL history. In that single draft class, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected 4 future Hall of Famers: Lynn Swann, Jack Lambert, John Stallworth, Mike Webster, for names that would become pillars of the Steelers dynasty. NFL experts said it was the greatest draft class of all time, but what they didn't know was that the Steelers' greatest hidden gem wasn't drafted at all. After all the hype, after all the picks were made, there was still one forgotten name: Donnie Shell, undrafted, uncelebrated, unwanted. No team selected him. No scout believed in him. No analyst even mentioned his name. But Steelers scout Bill Nunn, who specialized in scouting players from HBCUs, knew Donnie Shell was different. He didn't see a raw athlete. He saw a disciplined mind, a film student, a leader, and a perfect fit for the Steel Curtain defense. So while the NFL looked away, the Steelers signed Donnie Shell as an undrafted free agent. No guarantees, no promises, just an opportunity. And that's all Donnie Shell ever needed. He walked into training camp not as a star, not even as a favorite to make the roster. He walked in as a long shot, surrounded by legends in the making: Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blount, L.C. Greenwood. He wasn't just trying to make a team. He was trying to survive among Hall of Fame giants. But what nobody knew was he would soon become one of them, surrounded by legends, earning respect the hard way. When Donnie Shell walked into the Steelers training camp in 1974, it didn't feel like a rookie camp. It felt like walking into football royalty. Everywhere he looked, there were future legends: Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blount, L.C. Greenwood. These weren't just starters. They were the foundation of the greatest defense in NFL history, the Steel Curtain. For an undrafted rookie, this wasn't just competition. This was survival. No flash, no favor, just work. Donnie Shell showed up early, stayed late, and outworked almost everyone. He wasn't the fastest, but he studied film like a coach. He wasn't the biggest, but he hit like a linebacker. He didn't talk much, but teammates noticed something rare. He didn't make mental mistakes. While other young players tried to impress with big hits and flashy plays, Shell focused on perfect positioning, clean tackling, smart coverage, and discipline. He wasn't trying to be noticed. He was trying to be trusted, earning respect one hit at a time. In one early camp scrimmage, Shell delivered a perfectly timed, fierce tackle on a star running back without getting penalized. Jack Lambert reportedly turned and said, "Who is that kid? He hits right." That moment didn't make headlines, but it made respect. From nobody to this secret weapon. Slowly, coaches began to see what Bill Nunn had seen all along. Physically tough like a linebacker, smart like a veteran safety, reliable, disciplined, unshakable. Defensive coordinator Bud Carson called him the most coachable player I've ever had. While other defensive backs chased glory, Donnie Shell quietly became the perfect piece to fit behind the Steel Curtain. A safety who played with the intelligence of a coach and the toughness of a linebacker. He didn't ask to be noticed. He just asked to be counted on. And soon, the Steelers would count on him more than anyone expected, becoming a starter, the undrafted safety who became the hammer of the Steel Curtain. Donnie Shell didn't become a starter overnight. He didn't burst onto the scene like a superstar. He earned his place quietly, the same way he did everything, with discipline, patience, and unshakable focus. 1976, the breakthrough year. After 2 years of special teams and backup duty, the Steelers' coaching staff began to look closer. What they saw was rare. He never missed tackles. He never blew coverage assignments. He understood schemes like a coach. And most importantly, he made big plays without making mistakes. So in 1976, Donnie Shell was given a chance to start at strong safety. And he didn't just fill the role. He redefined it. Not just a safety, a hybrid weapon. Donnie Shell wasn't like traditional safeties of his time. He wasn't simply playing deep coverage or waiting for passes. Instead, the Steelers used him in a hybrid role. As a run enforcer, closing gaps like a linebacker. As a pass defender, tracking elite receivers with discipline. As a leader, calling adjustments in the secondary. And as a silent hammer, delivering punishing but textbook legal hits. He was physical enough to help stop the run, smart enough to read the quarterback, and disciplined enough to never get caught out of position. That combination was almost unheard of in that era. 1979, the elite season. In the 1979 season, Donnie Shell had one of the best defensive years for any safety in NFL history. 7 interceptions. First team All-Pro. Pro Bowl selection. 4th Super Bowl ring. And he accomplished all of this while playing on a defense full of legendary names. In many ways, he was the glue guy, the one who held the back end of the steel curtain together. Mel Blount later said, "You couldn't fool Donnie. He knew where the ball was going before the quarterback did." The stats nobody expected. 51 career interceptions, more than Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, and Ronnie Lott had when they retired. 19 fumbles recovered, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pro selections. For an undrafted, overlooked, forgotten signing, this wasn't just impressive, it was unbelievable. He didn't just make the roster. He ended up playing 14 seasons, all with the Steelers. He didn't just fit into the steel curtain. He completed it. He was never loud, never flashy, never begged for attention. But when teammates were asked who they trusted most, his name always came up. Leadership, respect, and the Hall of Fame snub. By the early 1980s, Donnie Shell wasn't just another player on the Steelers roster. He had become one of the leadership pillars of the team. He wasn't loud like Jack Lambert. He wasn't iconic like Mean Joe Green. He wasn't flashy like Lynn Swann. But in every player's meeting, film study session, defensive adjustment, or locker room conversation, Donnie Shell's voice mattered. The quiet leader of the steel curtain. He led not by speech, but by example. Players said, if you wanted to know how a professional should prepare, you watch Donnie. Coaches trusted him to make on-field adjustments, calling coverage shifts, reading the quarterback's eyes, and even instructing cornerbacks pre-snap. He became a true defensive quarterback, playing safety, but thinking like a coach. Unflashy, but unforgettable to those who knew. Unlike other famous Steelers, his greatness didn't come with highlight reels. He didn't celebrate. He didn't showboat. But when the game was on the line, he was always exactly where he was supposed to be. 51 career interceptions, more than any strong safety of his era. 4 Super Bowl rings, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pro selections, 14 NFL seasons, all with Pittsburgh. He retired in 1987, leaving behind one of the most complete careers in Steelers history. So why was he forgotten? When Hall of Fame discussions began, his teammates, like Mel Blount, Jack Ham, and Joe Green, were all honored. But Donnie Shell? He waited, and waited, and waited. 33 years passed. No selection. Why? Because he wasn't loud. He wasn't a media favorite. He wasn't a big personality. He was consistent, quiet, disciplined. And sometimes, the NFL forgets men like that until much later. Finally, 2020, the call. After decades of waiting, Donnie Shell finally received the honor he deserved, enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. At his induction, he didn't talk about statistics or achievements or proving people wrong. He simply said, I wasn't overlooked. I was just being prepared for the right time. That was Donnie Shell. Humble, patient, legendary. Life after football. The mentor, the man, the legacy. When Donnie Shell retired in 1987, he didn't chase media attention, coaching jobs, or fame. He chose something more meaningful. He began working in player development and mentorship, helping young athletes, especially undrafted players, understand something he lived his entire career believing. Talent may get you in the door, but character keeps you there. A mentor to future legends. He later joined the Carolina Panthers organization as Director of Player Development, guiding young professionals on how to prepare not just for football, but for life after football. He taught them financial responsibility, leadership and discipline, how to stay grounded despite fame, how to build a legacy, not just a career. Players called him Coach Shell. Even though he wasn't coaching plays, he was coaching life, faith, family, and purpose. Shell also became deeply involved in Christian leadership and community programs, focusing on youth, education, and personal growth. Just like his playing career, he didn't seek attention. He focused on impact. He believed in 3 things: faith, family, football, in that order. Legacy of quiet greatness. Donnie Shell never tried to be the biggest name on the Steelers. He didn't chase applause, cameras, or headlines, but to his teammates, coaches, and those who truly knew the game. He was essential, reliable, unshakable. He represented everything the Steel Curtain stood for: discipline, toughness, intelligence, family. And while he was once forgotten by fans, his story now represents something powerful. You don't have to be drafted to become a legend. Donnie Shell never chased fame. He never tried to be the loudest voice, the flashiest player, or the name on every headline. He simply showed up. He did his job. He led with discipline, humility, and consistency. And in doing so, he became one of the most respected and impactful players in Steelers history. No draft pick, no hype, no spotlight, just excellence, year after year. That's why his story matters. Because not every legend begins with a first-round pick. Some begin with faith, hard work, and a quiet belief in themselves. If stories like this inspire you, if you believe legends like Donnie Shell should never be forgotten, then join us in preserving the black and gold legacy. Like this video. Share it with every true Steelers fan. Subscribe to Black and Gold Legacy, where history lives, legends speak, and stories never die. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss the next untold story from Steelers history. Because some legends don't ask to be remembered. They just deserve to be.